Remember a month ago, this was just a rumor that the White House was going to use the Justice Department to legalize the 30 million illegals by executive fiat. Well, here it is, mainstream news, Washington Post, Washington Times, Associated Press today. Memo outlines backdoor amnesty plan. Immigration staffers cite tools available without reform. Well, that was never a rumor. It wasn't a rumor 2 months ago that the Justice Department was going to sue Arizona. But when Arizona said, you better not sue us, they said, that's a conspiracy theory. We're not. And a month ago, it's a conspiracy. They actually said on the news, it's a conspiracy theory that we're looking at blanket amnesty outside of Congress. And they do that so that you can't build up any political opposition. Kind of like, there's no world government. We're not planning a carbon tax. Remember, I had the heir of the Rothschild fortune on 3 years ago, and he said, David the Rothschild, he said, there's no carbon tax. That doesn't exist. There's no taxes involved in global warming movement. Simultaneously, he'd been on other shows promoting it. They just try to neutralize you with their lies. It's all coming up. Here is the Washington Times today, and this is also being reported by other publications. Memo outlines backdoor amnesty plan. Remember a month ago, this was first being warned about in the U.S. Senate. 9 different Republican senators put out a public letter saying it is being discussed by the DOJ. The Senate is being told that we'd better go ahead and pass total amnesty, or the federal bureaucracy outside of law is just going to legalize the illegals. Now, they've already done that in 860-plus cities, sanctuary cities. You get pulled over drunk driving, you're an illegal alien, they let you go. 95% of the murder warrants in L.A. County are for illegal aliens. It's because the criminals of Mexico that are fleeing the law there, and that collapsed society, come up here and just get away with murder, especially against the illegal alien community. The immigrant community is the group that they feed on the most because they've got countless IDs, consular matricula cards. The Mexican government will give them matricula cards with no ID, and major banks then accept these. So it's a double set of rules because, as the SPP, North American Union documents have stated, especially the ones that Judicial Watch sued and got 3 years ago from the Banff Canada meeting, it states that this is part of the North American Union move, and it's designed to drive down wages and to create a giant voting bloc that will vote for gun control and further open borders. So this is how they're breaking down the United States. But here is the Washington Times, now confirmed. Memo outlines backdoor amnesty plan. Immigration staffers cite tools available without reform. Reform, of course, meaning total and complete amnesty. With Congress gridlocked on an immigration bill, the Obama administration is considering using a back door to stop deporting many illegal immigrants. What a draft government memo said could be a non-legislative version of amnesty. Now, that's the Justice Department memo right there. So a non-legislative version of amnesty. Stroke of the pen, law of the land. Kind of cool, like Begala said in the Clinton administration. So here is that article right there, no longer a rumor, and it wasn't a rumor when 9 senators came out and said, we've been told this is about to happen. It wasn't a rumor 2 months ago when Arizona said we're going to be sued. The Justice Department has already told us that if we don't back off, we're going to be sued. You now know that suit's happened, and the judge has now kicked it into the Ninth Circuit, striking down the main provision of that law that Arizona passed. So continuing, but why do they always lie? Because the White House had said we're not planning that. That's not true in the last month. Because they don't want to give you time to launch opposition to it. They will just militarily, and that's a military psyop tactic, just say we're not doing it until they do it. Because they don't want you to be able to get the jump on them. They want to get the jump on you. And I, before the break, pointed out that we had David the Rothschild on the show 3 years ago, and a clip of that is actually in Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, really my preeminent film on the whole eugenics global system, what makes the controllers tick, what their master plan is. And he had written books, he'd been on TV calling for a global carbon tax. But when I had him on, he said there's no carbon tax planned, even though it already had congressional hearings 3 years ago. He just said that doesn't exist, that's preposterous, and laughed at me. Then I said, well, if carbon dioxide is heating up the Earth, when the government's own studies show that carbon dioxide goes up after the Earth heats and has little to do with heating, and that it's been up to 14 times higher in the atmosphere in the last million years. They know that from soil and ice samples. I said, if SUVs are causing global warming on the Earth and humans exhaling are, why are the ice caps of Mars melting? Because at that time, the sun had been heating up, and then it cooled down the last 3 years to... in the last 100 years, record lows of heat radiation being put off. Now it's heated back up. And he just said, well, that's easy. Saturn and Jupiter and Mars are closer to the sun than the Earth. And I said, sir, that's not true. It's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and then on out to Pluto. And he just laughed and said, that's not true. That's preposterous. And he was laughing with enjoyment. It's enjoying... I mean, it's a great enjoyment for them. They enjoy saying there's no carbon tax as they try to pass it. They enjoy saying there's no amnesty plan as they launch it. They enjoy saying there's no amnesty lawsuit. They enjoy, at Waco, with the Bradley fighting vehicles ramming the building, running over people. It's all in the flare footage, shooting people, with bullhorns announcing, PA systems saying, this is not an assault. You are not being assaulted. This is part of their psyop. Because even if you know it's a lie that tanks are ramming and killing you, you'll still kind of hesitate. The best parable or parallel that I could use to illustrate this is in the movie Mars Attacks that came out 10 or 12 years ago, where the Martian aliens land in Las Vegas. We even had this as a liner years ago. We had to dig it back up and put it back into rotation. And... the aliens are running around the airport and the city shooting people with their ray guns and disintegrating them, but they have a PA system announcing, don't run, we are your friends. And a lot of citizens of Las Vegas stop and go, okay, I want to be friends, and they go, and shoot them with the ray guns. Don't run, we are your friends. Don't run, we are your friends. And this is what they do. There's no plan to have an executive order or just have the Justice Department legalize all the illegals. Well, don't listen to those 9 senators. They're liars. Here it is from the White House, public memo. This is what they're planning. There's no plan to put toll roads on Mopac, the second most used road, not just in Texas, but the United States. The second busiest road in the country is Mopac. In Austin, number 1 is the stretch of I-35 from San Antonio to Dallas, which runs through Austin. That's number 1, is I-35. Number 2, just a few miles west, is Mopac. And 5 years ago, they said, we're going to put a toll road on it. And people pointed out, well, that's against federal and state law to put a toll road on an existing road. And the regulations and laws say that you can't just restripe it and claim it's a new road. And so they backed off. Oh, okay, we were never planning it. Then 2 years ago, they were back, and we exposed them, and many others fought against it and exposed them, so they backed off and said, we were never planning that, even though they'd made the announcements. And now they're back saying they're going to put a toll road on it. Don't run, we are your friends. As they fire their political ray guns at you, bankrupting the nation. Don't run, we are your friends. In fact, will you search YouTube and say, Mars Attacks, don't run, we are your friends. It might actually be online. John, we had that as a liner about 10 years ago. Is that still on the network computers? Yeah, we had it as a liner. We had Braveheart when we went out to the 30 break going, what will you do without freedom? Will you fight? That was one. I don't know why they were taken out. The other one is, we're on the march, the empire's on the run. That's the one that's still there. And then the third one was, don't run, we are your friends. I'd get constant emails. What is that? What does that mean? Well, that's the entire methodology of the controllers. They still have ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, Media Matters, demonization pieces every week or so. One of those outfits puts out a report saying there are dangerous, insane people that believe the Federal Reserve is private. Well, it's admittedly private, not accountable to Congress. They still have reports coming out saying there are insane people who want to kill police officers, they give no evidence, that believe there's a world government run by banks being formed. You can read the Financial Times of London, AP, Reuters. Any given week, there's news announcing it as the new solution to all our problems. But they say it doesn't exist, and you're insane if you talk about it. And again, this is a psychological warfare tactic pointed at the dumber sheeple out there.